Assalamualaikum and good day. So we meet again in another video lecture of our topic, which is the second part of the safety and regulatory aspect in enzyme use. And we continue in looking at this table. So I'm covering a document from WHO on the revision of their previous document, which is published in 2006, which is on the food additives, which include enzymes. So what they are looking at in this 2018 meeting in Rome, and this document has been published in 2019. So they will look at all their data, and they are considering these factors. Yeah, so the first one is the history of safe use of the production microorganism. So why they look at this factor? So if all the elements within this factor are satisfied, meaning that it has stable genetics for the given construct, so it doesn't evolve to another construct, and so it's stable, so it's not toxic, and you have a lot of data showing that the strains from the same lineage is safe, then it has the history of safe use of this microorganism. So why they look at this factor, we will show this in the coming slides. And then they also looked at the enzyme preparation from the same source organism. And what are the elements that they want to see? They want to look at the strain performance, enzyme activity, the sequence bioinfo data, and the species specific modification. Okay, next one is the GMP production. So they want to see how the production is being handled, and how do they control the toxin production, whether they have carryover of residual components in the growth medium, as well as the enzyme purity. Okay, next is the presence or absence of production strain in final product, whether they have the residual microbes in their final enzyme product. So they want to see whether they have secondary metabolites, and another thing is the dietary exposure, whether it has what are the levels that are present in the food production and in the final food product, as well as in silico database comparisons. So this is useful for prediction of similarity with non-allergen, as well as to predict their toxicity. And then another factor is the digestibility. So whether it have data on in vitro digestibility. So this is useful to assess absence of allergenic protein fragment. So what are the safety concerns that we have for enzyme use in food industry. So one is the potential for the enzyme to cause an allergic reaction. So food allergies. So whether the enzymes present can produce adverse immunological reaction to an otherwise harmless food. And we need to see the severity of the food allergies in the susceptible individual. So the most common type of food allergy is mediated by this allergen specific immunoglobulin E or IgE antibodies. So the allergens are almost always protein. So not all food proteins are allergens, however. So but allergens are almost always proteins. So for example, allergens can occur in papain enzyme from papaya, lactoperoxidase in cow's milk, or this ARA-H2 enzyme in peanuts. So these are among the non-allergens. Okay, and some, for example, people with nut allergy, for example, they can have very severe allergic immune reaction. So for food allergy, as there are no single test that can accurately predict whether a microbially synthesized enzyme can cross-react with an established allergen, then the WHO recommends using the weight of evidence approach. So what is this? So let's see. So the routine approach that was performed by JACFA committee from WHO is to compare the amino acid sequence. So it compared it with known linear IgE binding epitopes. So we can compare it by using in silico method, bioinfo method, and looking at appropriate protein database. So this is one example that has been mentioned by WHO, allergenonline.org. You may want to look at it if you are interested in it. So how do they perform the comparison? By one, comparing it with established allergens amino acid sequence. Second is to search 8 amino acid sequence in tandem for matches with established allergens. Okay, lower than 8, you can have a false positive hit. So when we have these two results, then we can assume that there is a possible immunological cross activity. So the enzyme may be an allergen if it has at least 35% identity in the amino acid sequence of the expressed protein, and if the 8 contiguous amino acid sequence is common to the expressed enzyme and a known allergen. So we don't want this in our enzyme that we use in the food industry. Okay, so again on the occupational hazard. So if the enzyme is used in the food industry, then people that work in that factory, that food factory, may be exposed to this occupational hazard. So if they have skin contact or inhalation, then you can get respiratory allergies as well as skin and eye irritation for proteases. So for most proteases, you can have potential skin and eye irritation. And one example of respiratory allergy is from aspergillus-derived enzyme in Baker's asthma. So this has been well described in the scientific literature. So JACFA committee from WHO has actually grouped the enzyme prep for use in food industry. So why do they group this? Because to know whether we need to perform toxicological studies. So we have two classes of enzyme group according to JACFA WHO for enzyme preparation for use in food. So for class 1 are the enzyme derived from sources which are considered safe for consumption and for which toxicological evaluation are not normally required. Okay, so this has been actually thoroughly studied. So and they are also derived from sources which are considered safe for consumption. Therefore, they do not normally require toxicological evaluation, which can be a pain to do. So, this class 1 enzyme can be further characterized into type 1 enzyme, type 1 class 1 enzyme. So, what are the type 1 class 1 enzyme? They are the enzyme obtained from edible tissues of plants or animals, commonly used as food. So, because they are generally regarded as food, therefore their safety is considered acceptable, provided that satisfactory chemical and microbiological specification can be established. So example of this type 1 class 1 enzyme group by JACFA is papain and rennet. Oops, sorry. Next is type 2 class 1. So type 2 class 1, what are they? They are enzymes derived from microorganisms that are traditionally accepted as constituents of food or are normally used in the preparation of food. So these products are also regarded as food and consequently their safety is considered acceptable, provided that satisfactory chemical and microbiological specification can be established. As an example, the Saccharomyces species. So the last type, the final type of this class 1 enzyme group by JACFA committee, WHO committee, is type 3, where the enzymes is derived from a safe food enzyme production strain or a presumed safe progeny strain. So what is this? We will look at the coming slide. So this class 1 type 3 enzyme definition for a safe food enzyme production strain. So this is the non-pathogenic, non-toxigenic microbial strain. So they have history of safe use in the manufacture of food enzyme, which include the evidence of taxonomy, genetic background, toxicological testing, other aspects, as well as commercial food use in commercial food use. Okay, so you can see why most industry do not prefer to change their microbial strain to a newly discovered strain, because of all these requirements that they have to get. Next, what is the definition of a presumed safe progeny strain in class 1 type 3? So this is the enzymes developed from a safe food enzyme production strain through specific non-random modification. So the modification are known and characterized. It should not encode any harmful substances and should not have any adverse effect. And evidence to support this include the taxonomy, genetic background, and toxicological testing. Okay, so I think I should stop here and I will continue in the next video. Thank you very much.